As we welcome Reverend Rosemary Hyde this morning to be our speaker in an ongoing collaboration. I want to really to hear that. We now got James and we got Rosemary and potentially we got Lisa to be in an ongoing circle of collaboration of speakers, of ministers, to carry us into a whole new understanding of how, which we don't have yet a clear way of seeing, but we are. It is forming itself. And so today it is Rosemary again with her teaching that is ongoing. And as you probably have seen, I have asked her to participate in our Lenten season, where we are listening for 40 minutes to a series given by Marvin Anderson, a former minister at Unity of Montreal. And then Rosemary will be leading a Q&A of how what we just heard weaves in with her teaching on levels of awareness. So here we have Rosemary. We are all yours now.
Thank you very much, Maya. Yeah, our awareness is always growing in one way or another. And what that implies, what that entails, is that we are learning more and more to see things in a more highly spiritual way. And so I'm going to make a statement here and let you think about it for a minute, and then we'll talk about it. And here's the statement. We all need to send love to Vladimir Putin and the Russian oligarchs and the president of Belarus and the Russian soldiers. I see some heads nodding yes. Because when you think about it, who is Vladimir Putin? Where did he come from? He is a human being created by the infinite energy and intelligence of the cosmos, just as we are. Okay, so isn't that going to, if we do that, isn't that going to make people think, oh, we're condoning what he's doing? Yeah, it might. That's a common sense that people have about goodness and badness in adults or in children. Oh, if I act lovingly, that's going to tell them that what they're doing is okay. Well, no, not even in the physical realm. Because in the physical realm, people who hurt other people, bullies, which Putin might be called, and people that are bad, they're hurting. They feel isolated. They feel embarrassed. They feel ashamed. They're hurting. And they're trying not to hurt. Psychologically, in the material realm, we are learning that little by little by little by little. And, you know, Putin has been very eloquent about how he feels with the image, the incredibly amazing, bizarre image of him sitting at one end of that 20-foot dining table, and his peer or earth leader sitting at the other end of it with this huge table between them. That is a statement of, I don't trust anybody. I am protecting myself. So let's think about the same situation, the same acts, which are painful to all of us as we feel compassion for the Ukrainians and for people all around Russia and people who have experienced this same treatment previously from Putin in Syria, in Chechnya. You know, this is a tried and true process that he's completing. If we look at it from the fourth dimension, higher spiritual awareness, what changes? What's the big immediate change when you go into the, say, fourth dimension, when you leave the third dimension and pivot your awareness into the fourth dimension? There's a number of things that change. One is time goes away. But the one that's relevant here is that opposites, good and evil, fat and skinny, tall and short, late and early, all the opposites disappear in the fourth dimension. So in the fourth dimension, in higher awareness, there's no bad. There is only love. So if we're in higher awareness, that's our commitment, to be love, to love and to show love and to express love. That's all there is. Now, it takes humans, all of us, a long time to get through the fourth dimension and get to the even higher dimension, fifth dimension, where, you know, we're just love. Most of us are going through this weavy trip that sometimes feels pretty chaotic. So when we look at the ethical choices that we get to make in our lives, one of them is, do I choose to see this as evil in the third dimension, or do I choose to see it as part of an overall plan for greater love in the fourth dimension? We can choose that and at least feel it in little bits. As if you think about Jesus's teachings, he actually said something appropriate to this situation when he said, if somebody robs your coat, turn around and give him your shirt too. Why would somebody who knows everything teach that? That's not a third dimensional teaching. It's a teaching about love. It's a teaching about only loving, about only seeing the divine order, the divine plan for love to emerge and to become more powerful. So let's look at our own lives, for instance. Every one of us has benefited from love. When we were children, particularly, but even now as adults, we need love. If we didn't experience love, we wouldn't have seen that and known our higher knowing in ourselves wouldn't have been able to go, oh, wow, yeah, that's what I want. That's where I want to be. And if we are today relatively sane, relatively balanced people, it's because we have been loved by people, by other people, and by animals, and without our knowing it, by plants sometimes. So you can think back on your life. It may not have been your parents, but there were people in your young years who treated you lovingly. It's true for all of us who have learned to love, who have grown up with some balance. When you see a mother loving her child, you know that she was loved at some point by somebody. Because people who never experience that from anybody, they don't know how to love. We learn it from others. I expect that most of us who are now seasoned adults, let's say, are also helping others, younger people, with love and helping them to find the love, the lovability that they are. You know, we know younger people, people younger than us, and we mentor them, we help them, we treat them kindly, we give them something to help them out when they're in trouble. That is the heritage of love that is crucial to having any kind of peace in the world. I'm going to tell you an experience that I had earlier this week. I mentor several seminarians at the seminary where I was first ordained, One Spirit Interfaith Seminary in New York. And one of my mentees, a woman that I didn't know at all previous to this, the seminary, I think she may have registered late, and the seminary emailed me and said, hey, can you take on somebody else? We have somebody that needs a mentor. And I said, sure. And this young woman who had moved to New York and has now, in the last 3 weeks, moved to Mexico, is a native of Ukraine, as it so happens. And our monthly check-in was this past Thursday. And I knew that her family was still in Ukraine. And so I led off by saying, wow, I imagine that you've got some really amazing emotional stuff going on now. And she said, oh yeah, my mother lives in Kiev, and it's almost impossible to get out of Kiev. But this is such an amazing, wonderful opportunity for people in that part of the world to release and change centuries of bad karma. This is so awesome. And I'm like, what? And then she went on, and I'm going to quote her here because it's quite a story. She told me that, her father never married her mother. It was a youthful event that she got pregnant, and her father is married to somebody, and they have 2 kids. They live in the northern part of the country in another city, and they haven't had any relationship for the last 25, 30 years. And out of the blue, my Yana's, my mentee's father called her mother in Kiev and said, hey, I am driving my wife and kids to Poland so that they can get out safely. If you can get out of Kiev and meet me, he told her a meeting place outside of the city, I will drive you there too. And her mother was able to leave Kiev and meet her daughter's father at the meeting place, and he drove her along with his family to safety in Poland, and then turned around and went back to defend Ukraine. Yeah, wow. That's, an act of kindness, an act of love where you would not expect it. And she said, her mother said, when I crossed the border, when I walked across the border into Poland, there were hundreds of Poles of all ages standing there waiting to welcome Ukrainian refugees. And they took individual refugees back to their apartment. They had food, they had clothing, winter clothing, they had baby stuff, because the people arriving in Poland had to leave everything behind. And then the people in the family that took her home for the night, they asked her where she was going, and she was planning to fly to Mexico now to meet her daughter. And the two people from the family took the train with her to Warsaw, helped her get the ticket to Mexico, helped her get food, helped her get some money, actually waited and literally accompanied her onto the plane. And of course, it was not a direct flight from Warsaw to some little town in Mexico, 150 miles south of Mexico City. And so there were several plane changes, and all along the way, as people on the plane realized that she was a Ukrainian refugee, people at every change walked off the plane with her, made sure that she got to the next place. If there was a layover, they had a meal with her. She said when she got to Mexico, it took 3 days of flying. When she got there, it felt like she had been among angels the whole way. That's just one refugee out of a couple of million now.
Beautiful.
This is not what we're hearing about on the media. It should be. I mean, is that news or what? To know that, and this is happening in 6 or 7 different countries. We will be asked, we are being asked now to send help to the Moldovans who are doing the same thing. It's a smaller country. We will be asked to send help, financial help, to the Poles, I expect, if this continues. There will end up being 4 or 5 million Ukrainian refugees who make it to the border. Interestingly enough, there's about 50,000, last I heard, and this was a week ago, Ukrainians, expat Ukrainians who are living all over the world, guys, they're going back to Ukraine to support the country. And they're all bringing the military supplies that all their veteran friends kept. So they're going back with body armor and rockets and rifle scopes. And so it's an amazing response. Not toward Putin, who I'm sure still feels totally isolated. But what would happen, do you think, if he suddenly started receiving just declarations of, you are loved. We know that you're hurting. We're sending you love. I don't know. The Slavic countries have in the past used love expressed concretely in the past to stop aggression. The Estonians, somewhere along the line, stopped a Russian invasion totally and won their freedom from Russia by all getting together in the capital city. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and singing together. Here's all these tanks trying to come in, and the city is full of people singing in chorus. That was is a part of Estonian culture, choral singing. So they all know the songs. And that's what they did. And the Russians, what could they do? You know, this was before so much air strike possibility. Because, in fact, if it's the people, thank you, Wilma, if it's the people, you know, a guy in a truck or a guy or a bunch of guys in a tank, we've seen that a bunch of people stand in front of the tank and the guys get out, go away. You know, they're not going to run over fellow humans. So the extent, you know, the awareness, the willingness to act lovingly, I think, has advanced significantly in the last 80 years since World War II. And this is a surprise. And I think we all need to jump in and, you know, help somehow. Although I think that ultimately the focus of all the aggression in Ukraine may end up with the country being pulverized, although it may overwhelm the Russians. I don't know. But war is not the answer. Love is the answer. And, you know, that's what we can and need to do. And we've learned at least, okay, these people were invaded gratuitously, at least from their standpoint. From Putin's standpoint, they belong to Russia and he wants them back. It's a very different perception. It's a third dimension. It's an actually old, archaic perception in the world. It goes back to the beginning of the 20th century, if not further. And it's very interesting to watch that old idea, how it is being addressed in 2022. It's interesting. I hope that, you know, I don't know if we've got enough love yet to totally disable the invasion. But that's what will eventually do it, is love. And Yana's initial comment about, oh my God, what an amazing, wonderful opportunity this is. for the countries in this whole area to let go of bad karma from centuries. That surprised me. And it's a different perspective. It's a higher dimension perspective. Putin's perspective about, okay, these people belong to Russia, is not about free people. That's a perspective too. And there are the work that is being done now against racism and about colonization is showing up in this response that the world is giving to Putin's aggression. So it's a way of seeing that we are making progress. Our response needs to be different and higher awareness. Our responsibility is clearer than I think it was when World War II began. And unfortunately, we're also seeing the heartbreak that always happens when people feel isolated from others. People feel that they are not part of the community, part of love. This is also, a wake-up call for all of us and an opportunity for us to learn as well. So our spiritual knowing tells us, okay, our job is to love people. And some people are a lot easier to love than others. But punishment, aggression back, is not condoning evil. Somebody who does something that you think goes against social norms almost certainly doesn't see things the way you're seeing them, and almost certainly is not benefiting from inclusion in human community. And that's the need that exists. So I think we can ask ourselves, how can we now be agents for love? What is ours to do at this moment? And this is a question that is worth asking ourselves. I'm going to end this talk by sharing the dream I woke up with. I was still dreaming it when I woke up Tuesday morning, and it was, I don't know, I took it as an indication of, yes, it's all about love. I confess that I didn't come out of the dream so willingly, and I missed my first appointment that day. And I didn't actually confess that I was still in the middle of the meditation that I woke up with. I figured people would think, wow, that's crazy. But it's true. So the dream was that I was in a large field, a large open space. I don't know how big it was, huge. And it was filled with, the sky was beautiful. There were trees and animals and flowering plants and people, and every person, including me, was paying attention to, next to, looking at, feeling another living being, another person, a tree, a rose, a porcupine, whatever. And the people, the beings that could move, would commune for a couple of minutes with whatever love partner they came upon next, and then would move on to another. So it was a panorama of beings loving each other and moving around so that they communed with many. And it was just the most amazing energy. You could feel the love. It was just overwhelming. And that was it. But it was one of those dreams, one of those ones that seem real. That, it's not just a dream and you forget it when you wake up. Like I said, I woke up and I was still in it. And I didn't want to leave it. And so I didn't even think about the fact that I had an appointment. Yep. Like I said, my ex-husband was also a professor, and he would come home and tell me the crazy excuses that his students made for not being in class or not doing their homework. And it immediately struck me, oh my God, that one would win the prize. So it just made me know that overwhelming, loving peace is the state that we are all called to embrace and to endorse in this powerful moment of world history. We are part of it, and we get to influence it. The moment invites us to act as love. So let's go into meditation together and reflect in the silence. Ask, know, decide what is ours individually and collectively to do in this moment. So I invite you to relax back into your seat and begin to find the silence within you. If you've got things in your hands or on your lap, put them aside and start to slow your breathing and to breathe awarely, mindfully, consciously. And as you breathe, feel the air coming into and leaving your nostrils. And notice that it changes temperature. You warm it up. And while your eyes are closed, in your imagination, look at the tip of your nose and see the air coming out as bright colors, beautiful colors, while you are still feeling your breath and allowing yourself to breathe more slowly. And notice you can also hear your breath. And feel your abdomen rising and falling as you breathe. Spend a couple of minutes now just being mindful of your breath and feeling everything, feeling your relaxation. And if another idea strays into your mind, just label it thinking, and that will pop it gently. Feel your body relaxing head to toe. And now, in your relaxed state, shift your visual imagination to picture yourself in a beautiful, green, wooded place. A small stream gurgles as it runs across a field. Birds are singing in the tree branches. You see around you trees and flowers and a couple of vines, deer, rabbits, a mother raccoon with her two babies. Two baby owls look at you from a branch. The sky above you is a beautiful blue with fluffy white clouds scattered across it. The sun shines brightly. It's midday. Slowly, you become aware of people you love and people and animals you have loved and who have loved you, who are also with you, sharing this happy place. For a couple of minutes, feel your deep peace around and inside you. Enjoy sharing love with the beings that surround you, plants, animals, elements, humans. We earth dwellers are all one as love expressing. Feel that joy, oneness, peace. Just be in this awareness and enjoy who we are. staying deep in the peace of your heart-mind. Think of people and places in the world and in your life where more peace must appear. Enfold those people in your love. See them relaxing and responding to the wonder of love. And now, when it feels comfortable, slowly return your energy and awareness to your body, feeling your muscles move and relax in your jaw, neck, hands, abdomen, legs, and feet. As it feels right, open your eyes and look around, smiling, to include all who have shared these few moments of oneness with us. We are blessed to experience this spiritual community, this Sangha. Smile and acknowledge each person in turn. And so it is.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you. Thank you. I want to slowly come back myself, joining you with a few announcements. As you know, we will continue after the service with a prayer activity in French. So all of you who want to be godmothers and godfathers to this new program that we nurture, that we will have French prayer services, we will have French classes in the making. So this being the beginning of Lent, I want to highly recommend you are joining again on Wednesday, which is our midweek event time at Unity Center Montreal at 5 o'clock. In gratitude, we are allowed to use Gloria's series on Lent by Marvin Anderson. And it's a 40-minute listening. Those of you who have known Marvin, he was a minister at Unity Montreal quite a while ago. Very dynamic. And then I have asked Rosemary to join in a question and answer 20 minutes. So the whole thing should not be more than an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. So your commitment of time is not particularly extensive. But this will guide us. This will guide us on one hand, Marvin's thoughts and teaching, and then on the other hand, a dynamic question and answer period with Reverend Rosemary Hyde, integrating, comparing and contrasting her teaching on levels of awareness. So it should be lots of energy, lots of fun. And I hope as many of you can just make that your Lenten discipline. Wednesday, starting this coming week at 5. And just one last thing, which is always a moment of acknowledging our teaching of giving and receiving. I just talked about that in our noon meditation on the importance. It's not how much you give. What is important is that you're understanding in the giving of your donation that this is manifestation of time and treasure of you. And that you are affirming, I'm giving of my time and treasure to the source where I am receiving. And it is my whole life is a giving and a receiving. I cannot just take. I have to find a way to give back. So anyway, stepping into your own consciousness of prosperity, of your own delight in having received this morning treasures, real treasures. In you are now saying, and what can I give for my treasures to this Unity Center of Montreal organization that needs my love offering, that needs my contribution, that needs my support? So, will you reach across the screen for our prayer? For our prayer for protection? Have smiles in your eyes. Have smiles that you are bringing into this moment, holding hands across. And join me in this prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God
enfolds us.
the power of
The
God
power of God protects us.
and the presence
The
of
presence of God watches over us.
wherever
we are.
God
is,
and all
is well.
And we are namaste to all of you with love across the screen. I'm going to stop sharing recording